She rejected me for being broke, said I had no future. I built one without her. 6 months later, she showed up crying, saying she missed me. I smiled, pointed at the ring on my finger, and whispered, "Funny, your sister didn't mind my brokenness." I can still feel the rain that night, cold, relentless, almost mocking me. I held the small velvet box in my trembling hands, trying to steady my breath as I waited for Samantha to arrive. When she finally stepped out of her car, she looked perfect, red dress, hair tied back just the way I liked, eyes sharp and curious. "Why did you want to meet here?" she asked, brushing her hair aside. I smiled nervously. "You'll see. I wanted this to be special." Her eyes narrowed. "Ethan, it's freezing. Can you just tell me what's going on?" My heart pounded. I dropped to one knee. The rain poured harder, like the universe was trying to warn me. "Samantha Brooks," I said, voice shaking, "will you marry me?" For a moment, silence. Just the sound of rain hitting the pavement. Then she laughed, not out of joy, but disbelief. "Are you serious right now?" I blinked. "Yes. I've never been more serious." She folded her arms, looking down at me like I was a stranger. "Ethan, we've talked about this. I told you I'm not ready." "Not ready?" I forced a smile. "We've been together 4 years. We've talked about marriage 100 times." She sighed, her tone sharp. "You live in a rented apartment. You barely make enough to pay your bills. How exactly are we going to build a life together?" Her words hit harder than the rain. "Because I love you," I said quietly. "We'll figure it out." "No," she cut in. "That's not enough. I'm tired of figuring things out." I stood up slowly, heart breaking with every word. "So, all this time, you've been waiting for me to become rich?" She looked away. "Don't twist it. I just want stability, Ethan. You don't have a plan. You're still chasing that app idea that hasn't made a cent." I swallowed hard. "It will work. I just need more time." She gave a cold laugh. "You've been saying that for 2 years." I stared at her, searching for any hint of the woman who once believed in me. "So that's it? You're leaving me because I'm broke?" Her silence said everything. "You once said love means standing by each other when things are hard," I whispered. She finally met my eyes. "Yeah, but I didn't know hard meant forever." I froze. "Wow. Don't make this harder than it is," she muttered. "You're a good guy, Ethan. But good guys don't always win." I took a step closer. "Tell me you don't love me. Say it, and I'll walk away." Her lip trembled, but she straightened up. "I don't love you enough to live like this." The word sliced through me. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was unreal. "You'd rather chase comfort than love?" She shrugged. "You call it comfort. I call it survival." The rain drenched us both. My fingers tightened around the ring box. "You know, I thought we were building a future." She looked down at the box in my hand. "You should return that. Get your money back." Her voice was cold, but her eyes flickered with something, guilt, maybe. "Sam," I said softly, "I would have given you everything." "I know," she replied, almost whispering. "And that's what scares me." I stared at her, completely lost. "What does that even mean?" She stepped back. "You love too much, Ethan. You drown for someone who won't even swim for you." I couldn't speak. Every muscle in my body trembled, anger, heartbreak, disbelief tangled together. "So what now?" I asked. She turned, opening her umbrella. "Now? You move on. And maybe someday, when you're not struggling, you'll thank me." Her heels clicked against the wet pavement as she walked away. I stood there, soaking, watching the woman I loved disappear into the blur of streetlights and rain. My knees felt weak. I sank to the ground, staring at the ring in my hand. The gold gleamed under the streetlight, a cruel reminder of everything I'd lost. For a moment, I wanted to call out her name, to beg her to stay. But something inside me broke. Ryan's words echoed in my head from weeks ago: "If she only loves you when you're winning, then she never loved you at all. I didn't believe him then. But now. I did. I stared at the street she'd vanished down, the sound of rain mixing with the quiet ache in my chest. I whispered to myself, voice trembling, one day, you'll regret this. Then I slipped the ring back into the box, tucked it into my jacket, and walked away, not because I was ready to let her go, but because standing there any longer would have destroyed what little I had left of myself. That night, under the cold rain, something inside me changed. Love died, and ambition was born in its place. The first few weeks after she left were a blur. I stopped checking my phone. The world moved, and I didn't. Ryan knocked on my door one morning. "You're still in bed?" "It's noon." "I didn't sleep," I muttered. "You haven't eaten either," he said, stepping in. "You've got to stop torturing yourself, man. She's not worth this." I stared at the ceiling. "She said love doesn't pay bills, remember? Maybe she was right." He frowned. "No. She was cruel. There's a difference." I sat up, rubbing my face. It's crazy how one sentence can kill years of belief. I keep replaying it, her voice, that look of pity. Ryan tossed me a sandwich. Then stop replaying it. Start rewriting it. His words hit me harder than I expected. That evening, I packed my bags. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I just needed distance, from her, from everything. 2 days later, I found myself in a tiny apartment in Chicago, walls cracked, rent barely affordable. It smelled like dust and hope. Ryan called. "You actually did it?" "Yeah," I said. "New city, new me." Or something like that. He laughed. "Proud of you, man. What's the plan?" "I don't know. But I'm not staying broken." I spent the first month job hunting. Rejections piled up faster than coffee cups on my desk. Still, I kept going. Then, one night, I found a listing, junior developer intern, unpaid, but opportunity for growth. I applied immediately. When the email came, I read it 3 times to be sure. "Congratulations, Ethan Cole." It wasn't much, but it was a start. On my first day, the office was small, barely 6 desks and an old coffee machine that made more noise than coffee. My manager, Lisa, smiled politely. "We can't pay you yet, but we'll teach you everything." "That's enough," I said. And I meant it. I worked long hours, sometimes sleeping at my desk. The others thought I was desperate. I was, but not for money. For meaning. At night, I opened my laptop and worked on something of my own, a small app idea that had been stuck in my head for months. A platform for small businesses to connect directly with clients. Ryan would call at midnight. "You still coding?" "Yeah." "Why?" "You're already working all day." I paused, fingers still on the keyboard. "Because pain needs somewhere to go. If I don't use it, it'll destroy me." He went quiet for a second. "Then build something out of it." That became my new mantra. Every bug I fixed felt like stitching another part of myself back together. Every line of code whispered, "You're not done yet." Some nights, I'd stare out the window, city lights flickering like tiny sparks of hope. I'd remember her words, "Love doesn't pay bills," and instead of breaking, I'd smile. Because now, I wasn't chasing her approval. I was chasing peace. 3 months in, Lisa noticed my work. "Ethan, this is good. You've improved fast." "Thanks," I said, trying not to sound too eager. She leaned against my desk. "What drives you?" I looked at the screen, the lines of code glowing back at me. "A mistake," I said softly. She nodded, understanding more than I'd said. When I got home that night, Ryan was waiting on video call. "So, how's the big city treating you?" "It's lonely," I admitted. "But the silence helps." He grinned. "Still thinking about her?" "Every day," I said. "But not in the same way. Now, it's fuel." "Good," he replied. "Turn heartbreak into a business model." I laughed for the first time in months. "Maybe I will." We talked for hours, about life, about the app, about how weirdly comforting it felt to start over. Before hanging up, Ryan said, "Remember, pain's the best business partner you'll ever have." I repeated it after he left the call, letting the words sink in. That night, I worked until dawn. Not because I had to, but because, for the first time in months, I wanted to. My code wasn't perfect, but neither was I. Still, both were getting stronger with every line. And as the sun rose over the city, I whispered to myself, broken, but not defeated. The morning light cut through the blinds, sharp and cold, a perfect metaphor for how I'd been feeling these past few years. My phone buzzed on the desk, and I heard Ryan's voice from across the kitchen. "Ethan. Dude, you've been up all night again?" I rubbed my eyes, staring at the dozens of open tabs on my laptop. "Yeah," I muttered. "Can't stop now. Novateka's prototype finally works. I just need to clean up the back end." He leaned against the doorframe, holding 2 mugs of coffee. "You mean you need to stop pretending you're a machine? Humans need sleep, remember?" "I'll sleep when the servers stop crashing," I said with a half-smile. "Or when this startup stops depending on caffeine and blind faith." Ryan handed me a mug. "You've been saying that for 2 years. You realize how far you've come? You were literally eating noodles and coding in your pajamas when you first moved here." I laughed softly. "Yeah. I remember. You found me on the floor surrounded by Red Bull cans." He grinned. "And you told me, don't touch anything, I'm building revenge." I sipped my coffee and stared at the glowing screen. Guess I wasn't lying. Ryan tilted his head. "You ever think about her anymore?" The question hit me like static, not painful, but loud enough to notice. "Sometimes," I said quietly. "When I look at old code or when I'm dead tired. Not because I miss her. Just, because she was the last person who saw me before I became this version of myself." Ryan frowned. "You mean the version that works 16 hours a day and hasn't gone on a single date in years?" I chuckled dryly. "That one." He sighed. "Ethan, you're building something incredible. But you're also building walls so high, no one can reach you." "Maybe that's the point," I said. "Love was a distraction. Pain taught me focus." "Yeah," he muttered, "but focus doesn't hold your hand when things get tough." I didn't respond. Instead, I turned back to my screen and hit run. The program executed perfectly, no errors. For the first time in months, I felt something close to relief. Ryan noticed my expression and smiled. "What's that look?" "It works," I said simply. "The AI module passed all test cases." He hooped. "Bro. That's huge. We can pitch this to investors now." I nodded slowly. "Maybe. If it scales." He grabbed his phone. "No, maybe. We're booking meetings. You've earned this." I looked at him, at his unshakable optimism, and realized how much I owed him. "You really think this could change things?" "I know it will. You're sitting on something powerful. You just need to believe it's yours, not a reaction to someone else's rejection." His words lingered. I didn't want to admit it, but part of me still felt like every line of code was a message to Samantha, proof that I was worth something. Later that night, as Ryan snored softly in the next room, I stared out the window at the city skyline. I remembered a different skyline, the night I proposed to her, the rain soaking through my suit, her words slicing through me like glass. "Ethan, love doesn't pay bills." Back then, I thought she was heartless. Now, I understood. She wasn't cruel, just pragmatic. But it didn't make it hurt less. The next morning, I walked into the small Novatech office, just 2 desks and a flickering sign. My team of 4 was already there, all young, hungry, and idealistic. "Morning, boss," one of them said. "Investor call in 15. Already?" I said, surprised. Ryan grinned. "Told you. I emailed them last night. They loved the concept." I straightened my collar. "All right. Let's not blow this." The investor's face appeared on the screen, calm, curious, professional. "Ethan, we've reviewed your deck. I must say, your AI analytics tool has potential. What inspired Novatech? I hesitated for a moment, my mind flashing back to rainy nights, heartbreak, and sleepless coding marathons. Honestly? I said. Failure. Pain. The need to build something that wouldn't leave me. The investor chuckled. That's brutally honest. I like it. Let's talk numbers. Ryan shot me a wide-eyed look, the good kind. By the end of the call, they had agreed to fund us. 6 figures. Enough to scale, hire, and finally breathe. After everyone left that night, I sat alone in the office, staring at the investment confirmation email. Ryan called out from the door. You did it, man. Novatech is officially in business. I smiled faintly. We did it. He hesitated. You don't sound happy. I leaned back in my chair. I am. It's weird. I thought success would feel like victory. But it feels more like silence. He walked closer. Silence? Yeah, I said. Like when the storm's over, but you still expect thunder. Ryan sighed. You need to let the past go, man. You proved her wrong 1,000 times over. Maybe, I said, glancing at the glowing logo on the wall. But proving her wrong doesn't feel as good as I thought it would. He gave me a sad smile. Then maybe it's time to stop proving and start living. I looked out the window again, the city alive, indifferent, glowing. Success feels empty, I whispered, when you have no one to call at night. Ryan didn't reply. He didn't need to. The silence between us said everything. The music thumped softly through the hall, lights shimmering across the marble floor. I adjusted my cufflinks, scanning the crowd. Ryan nudged me. Didn't expect you to actually come, he said. It's Daniel's engagement, I replied. Couldn't skip it. He believed in Novatech when no one else did. Ryan smirked. Yeah, but you didn't tell me your ex was on the guest list. I froze mid-sip. What? He pointed across the room. There. In the silver dress. My chest tightened. Samantha. She looked the same and yet completely different. Hair shorter, smile sharper. When her eyes met mine, her expression faltered, just for a moment, before she masked it with polite surprise. Ryan leaned closer. Want me to run interference? I shook my head. No. I'm not the one who needs to hide. I walked toward the bar, acting like she wasn't there. Of course, fate didn't care for that kind of calm. Ethan? Her voice hit me like a memory I didn't ask for. I turned slowly. Samantha. She smiled, that same practiced sweetness. Wow, you look different. I'd hope so, I said, setting my glass down. It's been years. Yeah, she murmured, stepping closer. You've changed. More confident. You carry yourself differently. Success does that sometimes, I said, my tone flat. Her eyes flicked to my wristwatch, subtle, but I noticed. Novatech is yours, right? I read about it in Forbes. Partly mine, I said. Mostly hard work and lost sleep. She laughed lightly. You always had that drive. I knew you'd make something of yourself. I met her gaze. No, you didn't. You said love doesn't pay bills. The smile wavered. Ethan, that was years ago. I was stupid. I didn't know what I wanted. I took a slow breath. You knew exactly what you wanted. It just wasn't me. She bit her lip. Maybe I made a mistake. I tilted my head. Maybe you did. But mistakes have a cost. She looked down at her drink. I didn't expect you to be so cold. I'm not cold, I said. Just done trying to prove my warmth to people who never felt it. She looked up quickly. That's not fair. Fair? I interrupted. You left me in the rain with a ring in my hand. Fair doesn't really fit into that memory. Her eyes glistened, but she blinked the tears away. I was scared, Ethan. You were chasing dreams, and I was chasing stability. And now? I asked. I'm chasing peace, she whispered. I nodded slowly. Then I hope you find it. There was a long pause, the kind that hums between two people who once knew each other too well. She forced a smile. So, seeing anyone? I didn't answer. Her voice cracked. That's a no. I looked away, scanning the crowd. Some silences are more honest than words. She exhaled shakily. You always did talk like that, like every line meant something. I shrugged. Maybe I learned that from being misunderstood. Her tone softened. You're still angry. No, I said. I stopped being angry a long time ago. I just stopped caring. The music swelled around us. Laughter, glasses clinking, the world kept spinning, indifferent to the ghost standing in its center. She stepped closer again, her perfume hitting me like déjà vu. Ethan, do you ever think about what could have been? I smiled faintly. I used to. Then I realized, what could have been doesn't build companies or heal scars. Maybe I deserve that, she whispered. Deserve what? Your indifference. I met her eyes. It's not indifference, Samantha. It's acceptance. Her jaw tightened. You've really moved on, haven't you? I didn't answer again. I didn't need to. She studied me for a long time, searching for something, the old version of me, maybe. The boy who once believed love was enough. He wasn't here anymore. Ryan appeared beside me, clapping my shoulder. They're waiting for you, man. Daniel wants a toast. Coming, I said. Samantha blinked rapidly. You're giving the toast? Yeah, I replied. Apparently, I'm the guy people trust to say the right words now. She forced a smile. You always were. As I turned to leave, she called softly, Ethan. I stopped but didn't face her. I'm proud of you, she said. Even if I wasn't part of the story. I looked over my shoulder just enough for her to see my expression. You were part of it. Just not the ending. The band switched to a slow song as I walked out to the terrace. Cool air brushed against my face. Ryan joined me, handing over another drink. How bad was it? He asked. I exhaled. Like running into a ghost who still wears your heartbeat. He smirked. Deep. But you handled it well. She asked if I was seeing anyone. What did you say? Nothing. He laughed. Ouch. Classic Ethan. I didn't say it to hurt her, I murmured. I just didn't have an answer. The party ended late. Guests drifted out, laughter fading into the night. When I reached the valet, Samantha stood nearby, clutching her purse. Her eyes followed me as the valet brought my car around, the sleek black coupe gleaming under the lights. For a second, she just stared, realization flickering across her face, not envy, not greed, but recognition. She finally whispered, almost to herself, you really did make it. I opened the door, meeting her gaze one last time. Yeah, I said quietly. Just without you. Then I drove away, watching her reflection shrink in the rearview mirror, a reminder that sometimes, success isn't revenge. It's peace. The first text came on a Sunday morning. Hey, Ethan, it's been a while. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I stared at it for a long time, my coffee growing cold. I didn't reply. A few hours later, another one. I saw an interview of you online. You looked happy. You deserve it. Ryan noticed me staring at my phone. Who's blowing up your screen this early? Samantha, I muttered. He raised an eyebrow. Ah. The ghost returns. Yeah. I locked my phone. Let her haunt someone else this time. But she didn't stop. Every few days, another message. Remember that night at the pier? I miss how safe I felt with you. Do you ever think about us? Each word scraped against old scars I thought had healed. I didn't respond, not once. Then one night, my phone buzzed again, but this time, it wasn't a text. It was a call. For a second, I considered ignoring it. Then I answered. Her voice trembled. Ethan? I stayed silent. She sniffled. Please don't hang up. I needed someone to talk to. I sighed softly. You've got plenty of people, Samantha. No, she whispered. Not anymore. Not since he left. I leaned back, eyes closing. Michael, she said, voice cracking. The guy I thought I'd spend my life with. He cheated. Took my money. Left me. I didn't speak. The irony didn't need words. I know what you're thinking, she said quietly. That I deserve it. I didn't say that. But you're thinking it, she said. And maybe you're right. Her voice broke, raw and unfamiliar. I was so cruel to you, Ethan. I told you you weren't enough. God, I was so stupid. I stared out the window. The city lights blurred like distant memories. You remember what you said that night? I asked softly. She hesitated. Which night? The night I proposed, I said. You looked me in the eye and said, love doesn't pay bills. I know, she whispered. And I regret every word. You told me I wasn't someone you could build a future with. I didn't mean it, she said, desperation leaking through her tone. I was scared. You had nothing then. I had you, I said quietly. That used to mean something. She started crying again. I didn't know what real love was until I lost it. I rubbed my temple, feeling the old ache rise again. Samantha, why are you calling me? Because you were the only person who ever saw me, she said. Everyone else wanted something from me. But you just wanted me. And you threw that away, I replied. For stability. For comfort. I know. Her breath hitched. And now I have nothing. No one. I swallowed hard. The silence stretched between us, filled with years of things we never said. Ethan, she whispered, do you still hate me? I shook my head slowly. No. Hate takes effort. I stopped wasting that on you a long time ago. She exhaled shakily. Then what do you feel? I paused. Pity. Her breath caught. Pity? Yeah, I said. Because I remember how strong you pretended to be. And now you sound lost. I am lost, she admitted. Everything I chased turned out to be hollow. That's life, I said quietly. You chose what you thought mattered. I chose wrong, she whispered. I should have chosen you. I let the words hang there. They didn't hit like they used to. They just drifted, empty, weightless. Ethan, please, she said. Can we just talk? Maybe meet for coffee? Just once? Why? I don't know, she said, voice breaking again. Maybe to say goodbye properly. Maybe to apologize face to face. I looked at my reflection in the window, the man I'd become. Confident. Collected. Free. I don't think we need to meet, I said finally. Please, she whispered. I can't stop thinking about how badly I hurt you. I already forgave you, I said. You just weren't around to hear it. There was silence, heavy and fragile. She sniffled. You've really moved on, haven't you? I hesitated, then said, moving on isn't forgetting someone. It's just remembering without pain. Her voice cracked again. I wish I'd known how to love you. I closed my eyes. You did. Just not enough. Ethan, she said softly, do you ever wonder what would have happened if? I cut her off gently. No. I stopped wondering the day you walked away. She let out a shaky breath. You sound so calm. I've had time, I said. Time heals. Success distracts. Pain teaches. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And what did pain teach you? I thought for a moment, letting the quiet stretch until my answer carried its full weight. That pain, I said, is the best business partner you'll ever have. There was a faint, broken laugh from her end. You always find a way to turn heartbreak into poetry. Poetry doesn't fix broken hearts, I murmured. But it helps you bury them. The line went quiet again. I really am sorry, she whispered. I know, I said. And maybe this, I took a deep breath. Maybe this is your karma. A small sob escaped her. Then, nothing. I stared at the phone long after the call ended, the silence pressing heavy against my chest. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. Not loss. Just closure. I met her at a tech conference in San Francisco, standing by the coffee table, nervously stirring her drink. Is that your third cup or fourth? I asked, smiling. She laughed softly. Third. Don't judge me, it's my social armor. I grinned. Then we're the same. I use coffee to survive small talk. Good, she said. Then we can be awkward together. Her name was Lily. She worked for a small AI startup, passionate, curious, and surprisingly humble. We spent the next hour discussing algorithms like most people talk about movies. When the event ended, she said, "You're not as intimidating as your keynote made you sound." I'll take that as a compliment. It was, she said, smiling. You just have that, calm CEO vibe. Thought you'd be arrogant. I used to be, I joked. Life fixes that fast. She tilted her head. Pain or failure? Both. Her eyes softened. Good combination for growth. We exchanged numbers, and by the time I got to my hotel, she'd already texted, "Next time, you're buying coffee." That, next time, became dinner. Then long walks. Then laughter that felt real, something I hadn't felt in years. Ryan noticed. You've been smiling at your phone a lot lately, he said during a call. Yeah, I admitted. Her name's Lily. Serious? I don't know yet. But she's different. He chuckled. Different's good. Just don't rush it. I'm not, I said, but part of me already knew, I was falling. Weeks passed. Lily and I talked about everything, work, regrets, dreams. Never about our past relationships. That silence suited me fine. One night, while we sat by the waterfront, she said, "You ever get tired of being strong all the time?" I looked at her. Every day. She smiled sadly. Me too. But pretending's easier than explaining. That line stayed with me. Maybe because it sounded like something I would have said. She leaned closer. You know what I like about you? What? You listen. Most people just wait for their turn to talk. I chuckled. I used to be one of those people. So what changed? Someone taught me that words can build or destroy, and I'd rather build. Her hand brushed mine, soft and hesitant. You're nothing like other men I've met. Good, I said. Because I don't want to be anyone else. The connection grew naturally, not fireworks, but warmth. She made me forget how love used to hurt. Then, one Sunday, while she was scrolling through photos on her phone, she said, "You know, I was looking for a picture of me in college to show you." I leaned over. Go on. She laughed, flipping through old images. Here, that's me at my sister's graduation. Look at my hair. Total disaster. I glanced at the photo, and froze. Standing beside her in the picture, was Samantha. For a second, I thought my mind was playing tricks. Same smile. Same eyes. Same woman who'd left me standing in the rain years ago. Lily noticed my silence. What's wrong? I forced a smile. Nothing. Just, surprised. You look so different there. She giggled. Yeah, that was years ago. My sister used to joke I'd never survive the real world. Your sister, I said carefully. What's her name? Samantha, she replied casually. She used to live in Chicago. She's complicated. The name hit like a punch to the chest. She looked at me curiously. You okay? You went pale. I'm fine, I lied. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed every memory, Samantha's face, her words, the ring I'd held in the rain. And now. Lily. Her sister. I paced my apartment, torn between guilt and disbelief. Ryan called the next morning. You sound off. What happened? I think I'm dating Samantha's sister. He coughed mid-sip. What? I saw her picture. It's her, Ryan. Same smile. Same eyes. He whistled. Man, that's cosmic revenge. It's not funny. I'm not laughing, he said. What are you gonna do? I don't know, I muttered. She doesn't know about me and Samantha. And I can't just drop it like a bomb. He paused. Then you have two choices, tell her, or walk away. I can't walk away, I admitted. She's nothing like Samantha. She's kind. Real. Then be honest, he said. Before it finds you first. I nodded, but my stomach knotted tighter. A few days later, Lily texted, dinner at my place tomorrow? I want you to meet my family. My chest tightened. When I showed up, she opened the door, smiling like sunlight. Don't be nervous, she said. They'll love you. I hope so, I said, forcing calm. She led me up the porch steps, still talking. My mom's been dying to meet the guy who finally made me laugh again. Oh, and my sister's visiting, too. My pulse quickened. Your sister? Yeah, Samantha, she said cheerfully. You'll like her. My throat went dry. I'm sure I will. She rang the doorbell. I could hear footsteps on the other side. Then the door opened. Samantha stood there, frozen, eyes widening in disbelief. Her smile vanished instantly. Ethan, she whispered. Lily blinked, confused. Wait, you two know each other? I swallowed hard, the air thick with irony. Yeah, I said slowly. We've met before. Samantha's hand trembled on the doorknob. You're him, she breathed. Lily turned to me, puzzled. Him who? I forced a thin smile. That's a long story. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut through years of buried pain. For the first time, I didn't feel the sting of betrayal, just the cruel poetry of fate. The night was warm, filled with soft chatter and the faint clinking of glasses. Lily's hand rested lightly on mine as we walked into her parents' home. My heart pounded, not from nerves, but from a quiet anticipation of peace I thought I'd earned. Ready? She whispered, squeezing my fingers. As ready as I'll ever be, I said, smiling. The dinner table was set beautifully, candles flickering against the white plates. And then I saw her. Samantha. Standing near the counter, frozen mid-step, wine glass trembling in her hand. Her lips parted. Ethan? My world slowed. Her voice hit me like a ghost from another life. I didn't flinch, I just nodded. Hey, Samantha. Lily looked between us, puzzled. Wait, you two know each other? Samantha's smile was brittle. Yeah, a long time ago. College friends. College friends. I almost laughed. That's right, I said evenly, sitting down beside Lily. Feels like ages ago. Samantha's eyes searched mine for some kind of signal, but I gave her nothing. She had no power here anymore. Throughout dinner, the air was thick with unspoken tension. Samantha laughed too loudly at jokes, poured too much wine, and stole too many glances at me. Lily didn't notice, she was too busy telling stories, her voice soft and honest, her laughter unforced. So, Samantha finally said, her voice cutting through the conversation. Ethan, what do you do now? I run Novatech, I replied, keeping my tone casual. Her fork slipped. You're the CEO of Novatech? Yeah. I took a sip of water. We just closed a global partnership last month. That's amazing, she murmured, her eyes glistening with disbelief, or maybe regret. Lily smiled proudly. He's brilliant. I'm so lucky. I met Samantha's gaze across the table. Yeah, I said softly, she really is. The dinner went on, but her silence spoke volumes. I could feel her breaking behind the polite facade. When dessert came, she excused herself abruptly and left for the garden. Minutes later, I followed. She was leaning against the railing, her back to me. You didn't tell me it was you, she said quietly, her voice trembling. I didn't think I had to, I replied. She turned, eyes red. You're dating my sister. I didn't know until recently. And you're okay with this? She asked, almost whispering. After everything? I looked at her. I'm more than okay. I'm at peace. Her breath hitched. Ethan, please, don't do this. Do what, Samantha? Act like you don't care, she said, stepping closer. I know you. You still feel something. I shook my head. You're mistaking peace for feeling. Don't say that, she snapped. I made mistakes, I was stupid. You were cruel, I interrupted. You made me question my worth. And now? I smiled faintly. Now someone else reminds me every day that I have value. Tears rolled down her cheeks. You really moved on. I had to. She swallowed hard, voice barely audible. Ethan. I'm sorry. I thought I wanted more, but I just ended up empty. That's not something I can fix, I said softly. She took a shaky breath. I still think about you. Every night. I looked past her at the glowing windows inside. Then that's your karma, Samantha. Her shoulders trembled as I walked back inside. The night carried on. Laughter returned, music filled the living room. Lily walked toward me with a small, nervous smile. Hey, can I talk to you for a second? Of course, I said, trying to steady myself after that storm outside. She led me to the center of the room, her family gathering around. Samantha reappeared at the edge, her eyes swollen but her lips tight. Lily took a deep breath. Ethan, she said, voice shaking slightly, you've changed my life. You've shown me kindness, patience, and strength. I don't know where this will go, but I know I want it to be with you. My chest tightened. Lily. She smiled nervously, pulling out a small box. So, I'm doing this backward, but will you be mine? The room erupted in soft gasps and laughter. I froze, the world blurring for a moment. Samantha's face drained of color. Her wine glass cracked under her grip. I looked at Lily, radiant, pure, unaware of the chaos swirling around her, and I realized something. Closure doesn't come from revenge. It comes from peace. I knelt slightly, took her hand, and whispered, yes. The crowd clapped, Lily beamed, and Samantha just stood there, her eyes locked on me, broken, silent, drowning in everything she'd lost. As I held Lily close, Samantha turned away. And for the first time, I felt nothing but freedom. I sat alone in my apartment that night, city lights flickering through the window like a heartbeat I no longer shared with anyone. Lily was away on a business trip, and for the first time in a long time, silence didn't feel heavy. It felt earned. My laptop sat open, a blank document staring at me. I didn't plan to write, it just happened. My fingers began to move before I even thought about what I was doing. Dear Samantha, I typed. The words looked strange, almost foreign. But once they were there, the rest followed naturally. It's been years since the night everything fell apart. You probably don't think about it anymore, but sometimes I do, not with pain, but with perspective. You once told me I wasn't enough. That you felt lonely beside me, even when I was doing everything to keep us together. Those words used to haunt me. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen. My reflection shimmered faintly against the glass. I remember every argument, I whispered to the empty room. Every night I stayed awake wondering what I did wrong. My voice cracked a little. Turns out, I wasn't wrong. I was just with the wrong person. I continued typing. You showed me that love isn't about grand gestures or promises, it's about peace. You made me realize that loyalty means nothing when it isn't valued. You broke me, but in doing so, you pushed me toward a version of myself I never thought I'd meet. I paused, fingers hovering. My chest felt tight, not from sadness, but from a deep, quiet clarity. I kept writing. After you, I built a life I once thought was impossible. A company, a purpose, and eventually, love again. Not the kind that burns fast and dies, but the kind that stays, soft and steady. I learned that love doesn't demand attention. It earns it. A small smile tugged at my lips. Lily taught me that, I murmured. The cursor blinked like a heartbeat. I wasn't angry anymore. Not even bitter. Just, grateful. I don't hate you. I don't wish things were different. Because if you hadn't left, I would never have learned what it means to truly choose myself. I exhaled slowly, feeling something inside me loosen. Maybe someday, you'll understand what I mean. But by then, I hope you've already forgiven yourself. I ended it simply. Thank you for teaching me what not to settle for. My hands rested on the keyboard. For a long moment, I just stared at the words, so full of memories, yet so distant. Then, without hesitation, I clicked save. But instead of naming the file, I hit delete. Watching the screen go blank again felt symbolic, like setting down a heavy weight I'd carried too long. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts. Her name was still there. I hadn't noticed it in months, but it was always there, buried under everything new. I tapped on it. The old photo flashed, her smile, her eyes. The girl who once made my world spin, and then shattered it. My thumb hovered over delete contact. I whispered, "Goodbye, Samantha." And then, with one tap, she was gone. The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was full of peace. I poured myself a glass of water and walked out onto the balcony. The city hummed below, alive and endless. Somewhere out there, she was probably staring at her own version of the same skyline, wondering how things turned out this way. But I didn't wonder anymore. I didn't ache for answers. I had already found mine. I smiled to myself and said softly, she rejected the man I was, but the man I became no longer needed her. The church was quiet, sunlight spilling through stained glass and painting the floor in colors I used to only dream of. I stood at the altar, fingers trembling slightly, not from nerves, but from something deeper. Peace. Ryan leaned toward me, whispering, "You okay, man?" I smiled faintly. For the first time in my life. The doors opened, and Lily walked in, graceful, radiant, every step echoing like a promise I never thought I'd keep. My heart didn't race like it once did, it steadied, calm and sure. She smiled, and I knew, this was what love was supposed to feel like. As she reached me, she whispered, "Ready?" "More than ever," I said. The ceremony began, words flowing around me like a song. I barely heard the priest. My mind kept flashing back, not in pain, but in realization. The rain-soaked night. The rejection. The long road from heartbreak to healing. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw her. Samantha. She stood near the back, half hidden among the guests, dressed in muted colors. Her eyes found mine, and for a moment, time stopped. There was no anger left in me, just understanding. She mouthed something softly. "You look happy." I nodded, almost imperceptibly. "I am." Her gaze dropped, tears glinting in the light. I remembered her words from years ago, "Love doesn't pay bills." I wondered if she still believed that. Lily squeezed my hand, grounding me. "Hey," she whispered. "Don't drift away on me." I chuckled quietly. Not a chance. The vows came next. I, Ethan, choose you, Lily, not because I need you, but because with you, I'm finally free. Her eyes shimmered. And I choose you, because you remind me that love isn't about what we have, it's about what we build together. When the priest said, "You may kiss the bride," applause filled the room. For a brief second, I looked past the crowd again. Samantha was gone. Maybe she left quietly, like the ghost of a past that had finally stopped haunting me. Or maybe she stayed long enough to realize that the man she once walked away from was never the one she truly knew. Outside, as we walked to the car, my car, the same one she once stared at in disbelief, I took Lily's hand and smiled. Ryan called out, "Ethan. Any last words before you vanish into married life?" I laughed. "Yeah. Just one thing." He grinned. "What's that?" I glanced back toward the church doors, where sunlight poured in, washing everything in gold. "Sometimes," I said softly, "the best revenge is peace."